What's up, everybody? Hey, I was on the beach in Northern California yesterday, and I took out my phone to fill some content, and I made a video about boys and video games, young men and video games. And as soon as I, was done filming it, I was like, that felt really good. Like, I should make more content around video games. And then I was thinking, you know what? Let me rally with Jordan because if you have sons or if you're a young man or you care about a young man or if you're a young man listening to this is like an extremely important topic, like super popular part of being a child, being a young man is video games, Jordan. Don't you agree? You and I grew up on games.
Dude, totally. I remember one of my youngest childhood memories. I was at Christmas, grandma's house. Gosh, I must have been like 6. And I remember my uncle got like an Atari, old school video game with the joystick, I believe. And I still remember playing it. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, right? And then, of course, it just kept stepping up. You had Nintendo and Super Nintendo and then Nintendo 64. And things just got better and better. And a video game was part of my life all the way to high school and probably into a portion of college before I had to step away. It was almost like having a divorce. Like it was part of my life for a long time.
Dude, I felt that too. When I stepped away from video games, it was like something had died. I had been married and it was causing problems in my marriage. Yes, we weren't even planning on talking about that. We were kind of planning on talking about a positive opener about video games because parents, if you're listening to this, we're going to film this in a really unique, helpful way. We're going to film a video game episode for you, for parents, but also as a way for you to send this to your child or listen to it with the son or the nephew or the grandson in your life as you go on a road trip, and you can listen to it and you can talk about it because everybody listen to this. You need to hear this episode on video games. This is maybe one of the most important episodes you're ever going to hear in your life about the power, the dangers, the importance, the neurology of video games.
Yeah. And let's be honest, some adults, we're targeting, kids, but there's people still my age who go home. I'm like, what'd you do this weekend? They're like, oh, I played, and they've got the newest video game. And I'm like, I look and I'm like, well, I had that divorce. Some people haven't, This is still a part of their lives. And we're not saying you're a loser and you should stop doing that. But what we're saying is we're going to show you and kind of get into a little bit about the stats and the studies about video games and what they're doing to our youth and our people.
And just to say the same thing what Jordan just said, man, I grew up on video games. I cannot forget some of the joys that playing Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, saving the princess without warping. I used to live with Jordan for a period of time. We would play John Madden football together for hours, and we would just nerd out and just have fun growing up playing Zelda or Street Fighter 2. And now there's just so many incredible games. I play Fortnite with my kids sometimes. And so we are not hating. Yeah, we're not hating on video games, but we've got to talk about something. And I've got to tell you something before we get into this. If you're a parent listening to this or a young person listening to this, you've got to hang in and listen to me when I talk about identity and about how important it is to build a healthy identity, how video games can actually make it harder for you to build an identity as a strong young man, a good man, a confident man. And so hang into the episode at least until you hear me talk about that, because we're gonna do today is we're gonna first start off with just a few stats about video games, and we're gonna kind of get through more to help you understand video games. And listen to me. Listen to this. Stat number 1. This is a fact. 85 to 97% of boys and teenage young men, they play video games. 97%.
Which is why I wanted to make sure to say we're not discounting the female group here, but when you look at the male numbers, it far outpaces the female numbers.
I was thinking too, just trying to be serious and funny at the same time, like what else is there in the world that 97% of people do? Like, think about that. Like, well, I actually did some Googling.
You gotta sleep.
Like, I actually thought about it. Not what else is there that 90% of people your age are doing? Not 100%, 97, which means almost everybody. You got anything that I got a couple things that come to mind. What comes to mind?
I was thinking of like tasks, like, there's probably 10% or so that don't brush their teeth. So let's say brush teeth. There's about 90% of people that are good hygiene.
Right.
They brush their teeth, they shower. Okay.
Right. It has to be like something crazy. So here's some things I came up with. 97% of people probably like pizza. Right. Like pizza,
okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
There's probably 3% of people.
Like, I can't have pizza.
But that doesn't mean they don't like it, right? I
mean, that's true.
I'm lactose intolerant, and I like pizza. How about this? There's got to be 3% of people who do not like cake for some reason.
Dude, that's kind of me, bro. I'm one of those people. I'm not a cake person.
Right. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That's how do you not like cake?
I just don't. I don't want a birthday cake.
Right.
I don't like it.
All right. I was thinking, I think people who like the beach, I think it's only like 80%. I think only 80% of people like the beach. What do you think?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I do. I think there's a lot of people that don't like the sand in the dirt.
Getting everywhere.
There's a lot of people.
Salt water, like it's salty. Like I don't want that.
Or if you're going to the lake, that mud, or the bugs, they're afraid of fish, or like for some weird reason.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So many people are afraid of sharks. I do not understand it. It actually really bothers me that people are afraid of sharks.
My wife's one of those, dude. She won't let her kids go in certain waters.
Right.
She'll be like, "No, I just saw a fin. I swear, I saw the fin." Okay, calm down. Calm down.
We're from San Diego, so we grew up on the beach surfing. It really bothers me that people are afraid of sharks.
That's funny.
Does it bother you at all?
So going on this tangent, moving to where I live now in Georgia, I thought the same thing. Like, dude, they're part of, they're not going to bother you. And then I started shark fishing with my buddy, and we go down to the Gulf Coast. You'd be amazed at these giant 10 to 15-foot tiger sharks that are only like 100 yards off the beach, just swimming, eating everything in their path. And I'm like, maybe there's something to this. Like these crazy sharks are just like right there.
Yeah, huge ones. But do tiger sharks bite people?
Oh yeah, they do. But dude, the numbers are so small. We don't need to get into it. This is such a it's so tiny.
So all right. So think of this. If there's something that 97% of people your age are doing, if there's 7% of all young boys are going to be doing this, at least occasionally, don't you think we should educate ourselves on this? And don't you think we should become skilled at talking to our sons about this? Like we spend so much time giving a child driver's education. My 16-year-old Miley just got her license. She has to go through deep educational process to get a permit, to pass the test, to do a lot of stuff to get a license. And that really makes sense. We don't just want to give her keys or 16-year-old keys to these dangerous automobiles without proper education. I think we really need to change how we think about video games. And instead of just giving someone video games or giving them times, we need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. And we need to sit down and really properly educate. The problem is we don't know how to do that because parents have never listened to a podcast episode about this. So I want you to take some of this information and give it to your sons.
We also don't want to be that weirdo parent. Like, listen, I'm going to let you play Super Mario Bros., but I need you to understand that, like, this is really bad for your brain, and you could only play it for 20 to 30 minutes, because if not, you're going to have an identity problem. You're going to sound like a kook parent. You're going to be like, what is happening? I just want to have fun for a second. You know what I'm saying?
That was a good point. That's a good point. That's a really good point. I'm going to make a reel out of what you just said right there, because that was really funny. Sometimes, we make reels throughout the podcast. Okay, tell us a couple more. What's our next stat?
So here's the thing. When we play video games, it's not just for 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, when you played a game of Madden, how long did it average take for a full game?
About 35 minutes back in the day, right?
I'd say at least 45 to an hour. I'd start a game. It'd take me about an hour.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
When your kids are playing video games, it's not just like I'm on and off in 20, 30 minutes. Usually between the ages of 8 to 18, we're talking 2 to 3+ hours per day of gaming. So that's a lot of content coming in and playing. And in a 40-hour work week, think about how much time that takes. So this could be a problem with not only taking up much of your time, but now you don't have time for homework, for after-school activities, for chores, because it's getting engulfed in the gaming world.
Yeah, well said. If you're going to be a gamer, you've got to understand time and how dangerous this is around time, how it's maybe going to affect your homework, affect family dinners. I mean, time. Tell us stat number 3 about the neurochemical rewards of video games, Jordan.
So when we talk about the dopamine hits, right? I mean, that's happening right now in the social
Drugs.
media world, in
Internal
the
drugs.
phone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you're getting these hits. These reels these days are so short and they get you that quick dopamine hit and you go to the next one, you go to the next one, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. These video games, it's the same. It's releasing that chemical into your brain. You're getting this neurochemical reward every time you get a kill shot if you're playing the first person shoot 'em up games or you're winning that race car game. But what's happening is it's like, in real life, it doesn't happen that fast.
Right.
It's speeding up the process of getting this excitement, and you like it, which is why you keep coming back.
Right. All right. Here's stat number 4. Okay. So if you're going to do excessive gaming, which everyone listen to this and just ask yourself, what's excessive gaming? What is it?
That's a great question.
Right? That's a great question. What's excessive gaming? I mean, boys, we just heard from Jordan. Some boys are playing 2 to 3 hours a day. And let's do the math. All right, that's 14 to 21 hours per week. And some people are paying 40 hours a week. So you've got to decide what is excessive gaming. And you can't compare excessive gaming versus your group of friends. Because if you're a young man listening to this, your friends might be hardcore gamers, and they're all addicted to video games. They're all excessive gaming. And you're like, well, this is normal. This is what we do. Everyone's playing games for 4 or 5 hours a day. Mom, Dad, all my friends are on games for like 7 hours a day on the weekends. That's not excessive. This is normal. So you've got to realize, how you compare yourself. You can't compare yourself to your gaming friends. But if you are in excessive gaming, you should know this, that there was a big study that came out of Cornell University. Lots of smart nerds go there. And they found that if you're going to be doing excessive screen time, well, then the facts is that you're going to have an increase in mental health problems. And if you have ADHD, well, it is going to skyrocket. And also what's going to happen, so now excessive gaming, you're going to have problems with your mental health. You're going to have problems, especially even more problems if you have ADHD. And then also you are going to have issues with sleep and mood disorders. So I can't tell you how many clients I have even right now who are young men. They have ADHD and they have problems with their moods. They have problems sleeping. And the parents are like, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. He just, he just plays a few hours of video games. It's not a big deal. Well, that's the thing. Some people cannot even handle a couple hours of video games because of their brain. What's next?
Well, brain development. So you're getting into the brain psyche. I mean, we're talking about the whole structure of our brains at that age. What's the stat? Like, we're not done. Our brain isn't fully functional until like the age of 25 or something like that. I can't remember. But it's not like it just becomes fully functional overnight. Yeah. So as we're growing up, it's constantly being molded and crafted. And ultimately, we are impacting that every time we sit down in front of a screen and play. And so heavy gaming, like you're talking about, will literally create structural differences in our young men compared to those that don't do it. And you can tell whether it is, having ADHD, focusing problems, not as good grades. I don't know what it is, but there's research from Science Direct that actually says there is structural brain changes, which it's that gray and white matter, the differences in your brain correlated with video game addiction and those addictive behaviors.
I love to talk negatively about like the iPad and children. Hate iPads and very dangerous. Often many kids, they cannot handle any iPad time. They're having symptoms of withdrawal as soon as they leave that iPad. If you have a child that can handle a little bit of iPad time, or an elementary age child, that's great. That's wonderful. They're in the minority. Most kids cannot handle the iPad. So now I feel like we need to talk more about video games in that similar manner, is that some brains cannot handle video games. Here is our last kind of dark stat that I want to share. This is especially if you are a young man who's playing a lot of video games, or you love a young man who's playing a lot of video games. Well, they did 12 studies on serious gamers. Not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 studies, but they did 12 studies. They studied 89,000 gamers, hardcore gamers, and they found something pretty serious. Well, they found that for people who are serious gamers or who would be described by other people as having, video game addiction or problems with playing too many games, they found that consistently, these young men have more suicidal ideation and suicidal attempts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's frightening.
What's also frightening is that these type of young men are more prone to internalize their problems. So they're not good at talking about their problems with other human beings. And that is very sad and very scary. So now let's shift it a little bit, because you and I, we grew up playing a different type of game that exists today. The games today are really not very similar to the games that you and I grew up on. One of the biggest differences is that back in the day, you couldn't turn the system off. So you're going old school Nintendo. If you wanted to save the princess on Super Mario Brothers or Zelda, you had to keep the game system on. It didn't save it.
Oh, that's
right.
That's interesting. You're
Isn't that
right.
interesting?
Yeah.
So not only
I
the
do
colors not as good, none of the games weren't as good.
Dude, the games were the best. What are you talking about? They were the best.
And then it really wasn't until this James Bond 2 came out on Super Mario or on the PlayStation 2, in my opinion, James Bond GoldenEye, that the first person shooter games really took off at that. So now we have Call of Duty and Fortnite. We have what's called first person shooter games. So I did a little research, not much. And I just asked, and I was trying to decipher and seeing what the nerds at Cornell could discover. Is there a big difference between first-person shooter games and like football games or racing games or strategy games?
Sports games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or strategy games where maybe you're walking through a forest and you're a horse, or you're walking through and you have to solve these riddles to get to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds like a great game. No wonder everybody's playing first-person shooter-up games. They don't want to play that horse game. Okay,
so I don't think you'd be surprised by the results. Well, what they found is that many studies have found that violent video games are more strongly associated with short-term increases in aggression thoughts, aggressive feelings, compared with non-violent games. All right, not a big shocker. Number 2?
And it makes sense. Yep, go ahead.
No, you can go. You can go. Yeah.
I was just going to take it a step further. Yeah, because when you were talking about the life cycle of the games and what it used to be, a lot of us me and you played together, right? I don't know if the internet was hooked up to gaming yet. So we were playing side by side. And I was able to have a friend next to me. Now, with the internet, you are playing virtually with these people. So,
wow.
I mean, it gets even more frightening because now I don't know who's on the other side of that screen. I don't know how old that person is. Now they can chat with our kids, and it's getting even more dangerous.
I don't remember specifically, but I can probably have memories of I'm playing video games with you. I'm playing video games with my childhood friends, Chris Thompson, Joel Kraus, Randy Bush, and at the end of a game, whether I win or lost, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit my friend. I'm going to hit him.
Yeah, my left shoulder is still bruised when you would punch me because I'd beat you in Madden.
I'm going to slap him. I'm going to wrestle with him. Right? This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw. Yeah. I'm going to start wrestling or touching my buddy. Right?
You are ridiculous.
No, it's serious. Why do you
I know.
Wouldn't you do that with your friends? With Albert, with Chris, with Jordan, with JP, with Amit? Wouldn't you start touching them?
You're sounding very weird when you say touch them, so let's use a different term here. I don't ever remember, I do remember there was some physicality because you'd be sitting for so long and you'd have this energy built up that you would start to mess around with each other, whether you're pushing them or trying to wrestle, because you've got this built up energy and your buddies right next to you.
Built up aggression, and you want to connect with another human being in person.
Right.
You want to get it out, and you're playing. And now imagine you're playing a video game, and you're a young man. You're 9 years old, or you're 15, and you've both played video games for 5 hours, And then what do? You stand up there and you walk to the kitchen, and who's there? You see your sister, or you see your mom, and all this negative energy just kind of leak out because you can't wrestle. You can't get it out in a healthy way. I'm just like making up a story, and you're just moody.
I mean, it's a good point. Right. It's different. It's a different world. I mean, there's headlines out there right now about these video games, and I don't want to point any out, but countries are banning them because of certain things that are going on in the internet world. So it's just it's a different world that us parents need to pay attention to, which makes it that much harder. I was talking to a friend at work, and I was like, man, parenting, video games, it used to be so easy. It wasn't connected to the internet. You play right there. You were done. Now everything's connected. You got someone talking to them. Like, what are they saying? Who are they? I don't know. They just said, hey, what's your address? And you got to make sure your kids aren't saying things. Like, gosh, it's a crazy world.
So the research on sports games, all right, basketball games, racing, sports, regarding aggression, it's pretty neutral. So it's not so sports games are not strongly tied to negative outcomes. And then strategy games, those can actually have some positive outcomes. So those are not linked to aggression. Furthermore,
that makes sense.
They can be linked to cognitive benefits and much less to aggression. And so very, very interesting. So essentially that's kind of like what that points out. But here is, I think, the most important thing we're going to do today. Are you ready for this? Okay, we're going to talk about what I talked about on that video. If you haven't seen that video, go and find it on my social media page. And let's talk about how video games can really be destructive in the identity formation of a young man, of a boy, or a young adult. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Like you're saying, I want you to keep saying, but you're basically saying like these kids, these boys, these young men are finding identity through this avenue of video gaming when that might not really be their identity. I'm assuming is what you're saying.
Everyone get in a time machine, yes. Whether you want to go back 100 years or to the 90s. Here's some things that had in common. 100 years ago, young men build their identity doing very masculine things, like helping around the family farm, like going to a factory, like making food, like preparing food, like catching food.
Right.
100 years ago, young men developed their identity by going to school, or in a very rare situation, going to university, where they would go to these elite universities, which is hard to get into, and learn to read and to write and to learn to use their intellect. Young men, they were working in the family trades at 100 years ago. In the 90s, we were trying to develop our identity. And yes, we did have video games, but they weren't the type of games where most of us weren't playing like 4 hours of video games, 5 hours on a day, because they just weren't that good. Going back 100 years, or even to my grandpa's age, you've got young men that are going to war at age 17 and getting married at 18.
That's a good point.
And by the time they're 14, they're thinking about, hey, what am I going to do for a job? I got to go, at age 14, or I'm going to be going to war in 3 years, or I'm going to be going to the factory or working at my blue collar job by the time they're already getting ready. There's not this thing called extended adolescence, for our grandparents' age. You agree?
I agree. So my question is as you're going to answer this, is what's wrong with me having my identity be a gamer?
Well, don't get me started. Here's one thing. Now, here's what's happening. Young men, your sons, your daughters, if you're a young man, listen to this. You're taking your young man brain into a world of fantasy, into a world of colors, of music.
Yeah.
And you are faced with extreme challenges in this world. You've got to overcome obstacles. You've got to beat your opponent. You can't give up. You've got to be tough. You got to be courageous. You got to be gritty. You got to be smart. And then guess what happens? You go in there and you fail. But guess what? You don't give up. You don't give
die
up.
And come back to life.
You come back, because that's what you do. And you try again and you fail. And then, guess what? You don't give up, because That's what good, strong players do. You keep going. You talk to your friends. You watch a YouTube video about how to overcome the obstacle. You become a strong winner. And you rise in the ranks. And then you defeat the bad guy. You win. And then you throw your hands in the air. And you said, yeah! I did it! I'm a man!
That sounds great. This sounds perfect. You're saying that they're not letting failure take over. They're trying again. They'll never stop, and they'll continue until they succeed. And this sounds great.
And that is the danger of video games. Because true masculinity is lived. It's not played. True identity is formed in the real world, not through a screen. That is the danger of video games. That you are finding your identity, your masculinity, your power, your grit, and your courage through a freaking screen. Look out.
So as I compare this, it's like if I fail in the game, it's okay because I'll try again eventually and I'll get to a winning position and I'll feel great about myself. Meanwhile, in the real world, when I fail, it's not as easy to get back up. It's not as easy to start over and try again. It's almost like the failure is going to win in the real world. Therefore, I'm just going to keep going back to video gaming because it's so much easier to win versus winning in the real world.
Well said. How about this? The research, the stats that we just read, did we read research that says gamers are more likely to be successful, to be CEOs, to be wealthy, to have healthy marriages? No, we didn't read any of that research. We just read that gamers have actually higher increases of anxiety and depression. That's a fact.
Right.
They have bigger struggles with online relationships, and they have lower confidence and self-esteem. So what we're talking about in helping everyone to understand is just because you might show up with a lot of grit and a lot of power and a lot of perseverance in a video game, it doesn't mean you're doing that in the real world. And that is extremely dangerous. In fact, it says the opposite.
Wow. That's kind of deep. I wasn't expecting to go there, but that really makes sense as to why some of these kids find their identities in video games, which is the big main point here that we're trying to get to.
Before you move on, that is
Go
the
ahead.
big main point. Like, imagine if you're a child, and let's just say myself. Let's go back and put myself in time. And I had
Okay.
acne, and my parents are divorced, and I was going through a hard time with my sisters, and I
You weren't any good
missed
at
my
basketball.
dad. I was struggling with my basketball playing. I wasn't as good at it as I was in middle school. Good. That's a good point. It's all true stuff.
I was just teasing.
No, I get it.
You were great.
And then I found this game, and I felt important. I
NBA Jam.
NBA
Felt
Jam.
so good.
I felt important. I felt masculine. I felt good. I finally found something. I felt a drug-like soothing effect would come over me.
Yeah.
And I could go and talk to online friends. So can you see how, like, why would I do something in the real world when I have something that is literally just a fabrication of reality, but it's not actual reality, right? See how-
I was looking at I went to my kids. They had this little concert at school because they're playing an instrument is still a requirement. And I was looking at all these kids playing an instrument. I'm like, man, this is so beautiful watching kids play an instrument. They were awful. It was like you have to close your ears, like you're like, whoa. But what I'm trying to get at is playing an instrument is very difficult. It takes so much practice to master that. Nowadays, you could go on the computer, mimic the saxophone, and put together a whole song. AI can do it for you. And I'm like, are we going to lose real music, human beings putting together music, because there is so much trial and error? And I'm not saying video games is to blame that, but it's on this avenue of like quick satisfaction versus something that is a lifelong achievement.
Well
We
said.
can be losing that.
Wow, that's a great example. Like, right. And this is why it's so weird to think about it, because to become good at video games, you have to put in the time, right? So,
Not as much
what's
time,
more
though.
fun,
But yes.
what would you think would be more fun for a young man, putting in 1,000 hours of video games or 1,000 hours of the piano?
Right. Video games,
Right?
100%. You're going
Right.
to get more of a dopamine rush. You're going to instant gratification.
Right. But then what produces more positivity in the real world? Like playing music for your
That's a great
friends when
point.
you're 35 because you learned to play the
Right.
piano, right?
Yeah.
Or forcing
Yeah.
yourself to learn something really, really helpful, or playing a first-person shooter game for 1,000 hours, right? This is
Yeah.
why
Hey, dude, you guys want to come down to the basement and watch me play Fortnite? Like, I'm really good. Like, no one else would do that.
No, dude, no. I'd rather listen to you play the piano. Can you just play?
Yeah.
So we got about five points we want to help you understand about identity. Jordan's going to share the first one. But as you're a parent, listen to this, or a young man, listen to this. I really want you to think deeply and maybe even pause this podcast and talk to each other about, hey, what'd you think about that point? Or, hey, have you ever thought about how this is impacting your identity? So, Jordan, why don't you start with number one? I'll take number two. Tell us some thoughts on identity formation around video games and young men.
So with this idea, identity technically can get formed before your character does. Especially if kids are playing at such a young age, you get that sense of identity that you were talking about because you have that instant gratification. You think you're good at it. Now you're saying, I am a gamer. I remember, before school, we have these little things where, you take a picture of your kids and it says what they want to be when they grow up. For my son, it was gamer for several years. I want to be a gamer. He had that identity at like 5, right? And so with these adolescents, with these young kids, they sometimes don't ask themselves, who am I or where do I matter? But they feel like they're accomplishing something. So if they're accomplishing this primary source, of video gaming, it creates this sense of status, belonging, like I'm actually good at something. I kind of am being successful here, all right? And if it comes from the gaming world, what does that do as they're getting older? Well, they're going to stick with it, right? This is one of the reasons why I used a big word at the beginning of this podcast. I had to physically divorce myself from gaming because I had that same sense of reality. Back in the day when we played Madden, then you had the Madden Challenge. You'd show up at Fashion Valley Mall or somewhere in San Diego. Thousands of people would be together playing Madden. You're like, I'm the best. And then you get a reality check real quick. There's always someone better. But you had this sense of identity because this was all you were good at for so long. So, instead of becoming super disciplined, learning to handle failure in a healthy way, being useful in society somewhere, right? It's more like, no, I'm good at this game. I matter here in this game. This is where I win. This is where I'm successful.
Well said, man. Well said. All right, number two thing I want you all to be concerned about and be aware of is that something that Jordan just talked about. Gaming offers instant status without real sacrifice. Instant status, right? What is status? Like, I'm cool, I'm good, I'm successful. Let me just share off the top of my head a few things that I think are really, really good for young men. One. Becoming good at action sports, right? Snowboarding, surfing, wakeboarding. Number 2, martial arts. Number 3, fitness, weightlifting. Number 4, education. Number 5, reading. Number 6, something that has blue-collar trades, learning about how to play around with lumber, how to do plumbing, how to work with your hands. Okay, do you like that list? Don't you agree that's a good list?
Yeah,
of
those are great lists.
Honorable things. So the problem with gaming is that you're working yourself up to become good at something that's actually not going to provide any type of value for you or anyone in the real world, and it's actually not much of a sacrifice because it's so fun and drug-like when you're playing it. So there's other 6 things that I just mentioned. To become good at those things, something in education, something in good martial arts, something good at like reading or pushing your mind, that is hard work. And so you're kind of playing around with your mind, and you're kind of wasting your mind, and you're like fooling your mind that you're doing something good. All right. That's it. What's the next? You got the next one?
No, I'm sorry. I was just thinking of an analogy as you were talking about sacrifice, but it didn't come to fruition in my mind. So I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to just move on here because that was awkward. All right. So then we've got the false self problem. Okay. You think, as a gamer, they're very confident, they're very skilled, they're very known, they're very respected, which could be true in the gaming world. But then you go outside the gaming world, this, person might feel awkward, uncertain, could be a dork. I mean, it's the classic movie of Ready Player One. In the gaming world, he's got everything. In the real world, he's kind of this dork who's got a dysfunctional family, and you don't really know who he is. Wade is trying to find himself in the real world where he knows himself in the gaming world. So you're kind of invisible in one world, and you're highly known and respected in another world. But that world isn't necessarily real, so to speak. I mean, I know nowadays you could make a career out of gaming, but I'd love to see the studies on successful gamers and kind of see where they're at and what they're providing. I think what you were saying in point number 2 is like offering something important of value to this world we live in. And sometimes in this gaming world, you're not offering anything. You're just being reflective and sitting around and doing something virtually, and it's not real. So it's not necessarily the gaming itself that we're trying to blame here, but the danger is when this avatar becomes stronger than the real person.
Right.
Then you're going to get to a point of like, why am I here? I want to live. It's like that, you could live digitally. You could be alive in the digital world. And it's like, dude, that is just weird.
Wow. Point number 4. The real world and video games have something in common in that they are both designed for failure. They are both designed for failure. They are both designed to have yourself go out there and you are going to struggle and fail. Right?
Okay.
So video games, you're going to lose to better players. You're going to it's going to take numerous attempts to beat this level or to get number 1 or to win at Fortnite. And in life is really hard. You don't just become good at something, overnight. It takes time. And you push yourself out there and you're not going to be good at something in the beginning. The problem with video game is that failure can become intolerable in the real world because you're just used to losing on a game in the privacy of your home. It's not much embarrassment. And so the more you spend time playing video games and losing online, losing in the real world is going to be harder for you. And that is a normal part of life. Being a man and losing and facing challenges and getting beaten down is normal. And video games makes it harder for you to bounce back and to accept the normalness and the hardness of real life.
Yeah. One of my, I don't know if it's a pet peeve, but it's like, I find it weird when people are like, oh, I'm part of a community, and you're like, oh, what part of that? And it's some online community, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm part of the single person who owns cats and lives in an apartment community, whatever it is. I'm just making something up. Yeah. But to me, it's weird. I'm like, oh, do you guys ever go out and like do stuff together? It's like, oh, no, we're just online. I'm like, gosh, that's so weird because you're missing the presence of each other, right? So it's like this online world that we live in can give us that sense of community, but I believe it's false community, right? That's just me talking. So when we're talking about this, the gaming communities can feel social. You're a part of this group. You're like, yes, I feel important, but they really lack emotional accountability, right? No one's gonna, hold you to the fire, right? So it's like our social development is getting outsourced, so to speak. There's not really eye contact, tone reading. You don't have to repair that conflict. You can just turn off the game. If something is wrong, if you're fighting with someone, just boom, walk away, and then you're not really in that real conflict, tension for a while. So this person can feel, quote unquote, connected without really practicing what it means to be connected, right? There's not going to be much empathy or conflict repair.
Well said.
Emotional courage, any of this stuff, because it's not necessarily real.
I'll do number 6, and then can we do a little recap? All right, number 6 is like accumulation of these 5 points about identity. If you play too many games and games become a part of your identity, then all these things that we just mentioned are like a math problem. This plus this plus this plus this, and here's what it equals. The future becomes scary. The future becomes scary because you go in and you're like, look, I might be skilled in the online world, but in the real world, I am not as confident or as ready as some of my peers because I've been spending all this time playing freaking games. Let's do a little recap, all right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Little recap for those of you. Here's what it is. Here is why building identity around video games and why video games can be so dangerous for young men in their identity formation. Number one is this. Go for it, Jordan.
Identity gets formed before your character does. You can start believing that you're a gamer so much earlier in life, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, than when the character actually comes out and you figure out what your character is. So when we're so young and we think like we have this identity of being a gamer, we, instead of being like, I'm disciplined, I'm learning to handle failure, you're just like, oh, I'm good at this game. I'm out of here. I'm successful. Boom, I'm a gamer. And that can be dangerous.
Here's some great things for young men to become skilled at. Martial arts, reading, academics, surfing, snowboarding, weightlifting.
Yeah.
And become good at these things, it takes hard work and sacrifice. Gaming offers instant status, instant good feelings without the real work, hard work of sacrifice.
Right. You have this false self problem, right? In gaming, you are confident. You feel confident. You feel really skilled. You're good at this game. You're known. You're respected. But then you turn off the game and go into the real world, and you might feel awkward with people. You're uncertain about yourself. You're kind of behind. You're invisible. And so there's like almost two separate identities being formed when you're gaming versus when you're not.
Number 4 is that both gaming and the real world is full of failure. Games are designed to make you fail, but life is really hard, and it's full of a lot of failure. The problem with video games, if you immerse your identity through a game, well, then failure in the real world becomes intolerable, and it becomes scary for the gamer.
Social development gets outsourced. Okay, so think about this. Like in the gaming community, we feel like we're connecting with people. We have a community. We're all gamers. We're here together. We play all the time at the same time, but you lack real emotional accountability. There's no real true eye contact, tone reading, repair of conflict. You could turn that game off and walk away, so you could feel connected, but you're not really connected to real people in the real world.
And number 6 is like a math problem. If all these things we just lifted become true, well, then what equals is that the future becomes very scary because you find yourself as a young man feeling scared, feeling anxious, feeling not as skilled, not as ready as your peers because you've immersed your identity in gaming. Don't do that. You are a young man worthy of love and attention and good values and hard work. Do not waste your mind or build your identity around video games. Thank you so much, everyone, parents, boys, and young men, for letting us share these words of love and wisdom with you today. We care about you. Jordan, today I think it was a very important episode.
I do too, and we're not picking on gaming at all. It's so important right now to make sure you are balanced. So you can game, that's totally fine, but make sure you're actually doing real world things in addition, because if you just game, some of the worst stuff can come out.